upbeat song about a sad topic.
Yeah, it really is.
Always, like I remember as a kid, I didn't know what it was about until I learned at a certain point. I always thought it was a happy song. And it's like, no, it's not a happy song at all.
Hey, the music does.
Hey, Twitter poll question of the day brought to us by Armin Chevrolet. Armin Chevrolet would like to wish the Birds the best of luck. Together, let's drive for touchdowns. Many touchdowns in this game. Visit ArminChevy.com. Go Birds. Twitter poll question: have people underappreciated Jalen Hurts? A, yes. B, no. You can vote at Sports Radio WIP on Twitter. All right,
You always thought it was a happy song? It
When
says,
you're a kid.
When you're
"This'll be
7
the
years
day-
old?
This will be the day that I die."
Yeah, but I'm hearing the sound of, it sounds vibey of positivity.
It's not a share happy song
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I believe in love.
Yeah. All right. Let's welcome our next guest. Our first guest of the day, a man who played in 2 Super Bowls for the Philadelphia Eagles and will now observe as both his brother and his former team play. And Jason Kelce, always brought to us by Garage Beer. The garage always open. Like beer like it used to be. Find Garage Beer at your local retailer or at drinkgaragebeer.com. That's drinkgaragebeer.com. Official beer of the Kelce brothers and dads everywhere. And obviously the beer you should have in hand 10 days from now. Good morning, Jason. How are you, pal?
How we doing, Joe?
Good, man. I got to tell you, those sales got to be going up, and up, man.
The garage beer?
Uh-huh.
It's doing pretty good, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people are stocking up their garages for the big game for sure.
Good,
Yeah.
man.
It's beer flavored beer, baby.
That's right.
Can't beat it.
That's right.
That's right.
That's
Man,
right.
Fridge beer.
So, man, Jason, what a time for you. I mean, it feels like the whole fall was a time for you, but this is like another. You seem to specialize in these convergences. Like what
Just
in the world?
Walking into stuff that has nothing to do with me.
Can't avoid it, man.
Got a little bit to do with you.
Yeah.
So, how you feeling,
I'm
man?
adjacent to everything. I feel good. Feel really good. Obviously, this past Sunday could not have gone better. Very happy with the results from everything. And listen, I'm looking forward to it, man. Last time I was down in Bourbon Street, we were playing the Florida Gators in the Sugar Bowl.
Wow.
And we got absolutely mollywopped. So it's going to be fun. That place is a hard place to not have fun. Going to get to see a great game between 2 teams that were just in this thing a couple years ago. So, yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it.
You want to tackle the who you're rooting for thing right out of the gate? I mean, because people have been asking
I feel like
me.
we got to.
Where we stand here.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I want most of the attention to be on the guys on the current team and everything like that. I mean, for me, I am tied to both of these teams. Obviously, my brother plays for the Chiefs, but there's a lot of people that I consider like family with the Eagles organization, former teammates, coaches, and players. And this is where I live and reside. And obviously, I love the city of Philadelphia. So the reality is I'll be happy in some ways with whoever wins, and I'll be upset in some ways with whoever loses. And I really got a lot of guys that I'm pulling for that have never won it in Philly. And obviously, I'm always pulling for my brother. So it's a torn situation. I know it's not what anybody wants to hear.
No, but we respect that. I mean,
It's your brother,
It's just
man.
the reality of it. I
Yeah.
could go up here and troll and say some ridiculous answer, but for me, I just think that that's the reality of it. In some ways, I'm going to be happy. In some ways, I'm going to be sad. And probably a similar situation to what my parents were dealing with when both my brother and I were playing.
Sure.
So is there a way to explain the massive difference in intensity defensively for this Eagles team this year compared to last year? It's not the defense is so much different.
Yes.
It's so much improved,
Yeah.
but it's so much more than just the X's and O's of it. The intensity.
Yeah.
How do you explain that part?
Well, I think one, they're just better, like better from a personnel standpoint. I think they have players that are that are better at making plays, more talented. The linebacker position, I mean, Zach Bond, you cannot say enough good things about that guy.
Yeah.
Obviously, everybody talks about Jalen Carter, but their whole D-line is really playing strong and physical. And I think a lot of it is coaching. I think a lot of it is when you are good, you tend to play with more emotion and higher expectations. That's just the reality of it. I mean, one of my favorite things that Stout always would say is, execution fuels emotion. You want a defense to feel good, go get sacks on third down and create turnovers, and like all that stuff builds. And these guys have now stacked an entire season worth of playing well. And it didn't start off the cleanest. And this is where I think the coaching does come into play. Like, I think you look back at that Atlanta game, and they could not stop the run against Atlanta, and it was overwhelming. And then they come back, and now I don't know that there's anybody that's really run the ball on the Philadelphia Eagles since that game. Like they have answered that and then some. And then you go back and you look at, okay, the Tampa Bay game, and it's like they're just attacking the flats and they're playing this soft zone coverage and giving them so much stuff underneath. And clearly they've adjusted, and even when they're in those zones, they're playing tighter to the guys, and it's allowed the pass rush to really get home by making that quarterback hold it for just a second longer rather than taking these easy completions. And I just think Vic Fangio, having him around, a proven coordinator with a track record of immense success in this league, is very good. I think all the coaches underneath, I think all of them have proven to be very good. Clint Hurt is getting the most out of that D line. Bobby King. I mean, look, we lost our other starting linebacker, Nakobe Dean, and all of a sudden we're still like it's like we're still functioning at the same level. I mean, we gave up a few more yards to Zach Ertz, but I think they're very well coached. I think they have a lot of talent. The young guys that they've drafted have panned out. I mean, this is, for Howie Roseman, it's got to be this like tip in the cap moment of not like he had anything else to prove, but this has just been an immensely successful rebuild of a defense after it's aged.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Could
offense
could put him in the hall. And he may need a second Super Bowl to make the hall.
I don't know how that works with executives,
but it's pretty rare.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean,
two different groups. My point is, I'd be more inclined to vote for him than whoever put the Broncos together in 97, 98. I know Shanahan was the coach, but if it's the same group and it's 2 years in a row, good for you. But if you do it with two different groups, and for the most part, this is two different groups.
I mean, two different groups, two different coaches. The only constant, really, if we're being honest, has been Howie, and a few players have stayed around through, and other people. There's obviously other people in the organization, but he's the one head guy that's stuck around through all of it.
So Jason, let me ask you this.
I got a question about the specifics of when we think back. I want to try to emulate our defense. Can our defense emulate what the defense of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did to your brother's team in Super Bowl 55? Super Bowl 55. Tom Brady's on the other sideline. Patrick Mahomes at quarterback felt like he was lost all day under pressure, seeing ghosts essentially in the pocket. How close are we to doing that this year?
I mean, it's hard to say because you're talking about different teams. Kansas City is very different from when they played Tampa Bay. I mean, at that point they had forget what the name for the receiving core that they had, but they were so fast and star-studded out wide. And Tampa Bay in that Super Bowl was one of the first teams that really played this really soft quarters defense and just made them keep everything in front of them. And I think that threw Kansas City off because before that point, they had so many big plays. Tyreek Hill was having enormous plays down the field, Travis Kelce, all that. And they played this softer zone, but were able to play tight underneath, and it allowed their defensive line to really feast on them. I don't know that that's the same strategy that the Eagles will employ this week, but I do think that Kansas City has some really good offensive linemen. They've struggled at other positions. They've solidified their front since they've slid Joe Thuney out to left tackle. But I also think we have a really good secondary that matches up pretty well, and I think that when the secondary is playing really good coverage, it allows those guys to kind of get home a little bit more. And I thought the way they played Jaden Daniels played a pretty good game. I didn't think he played bad.
Yeah.
But I thought that they were a lot more disciplined in their rush lanes. They did a good job of eliminating a lot of big plays for the most part. And if they can kind of keep Pat in there and force them to hold on to it and not let them get the easy completions and the easy scrambles out through the middle of the pocket.
Yeah.
They can do some good things defensively for sure.
Yeah.
Jason Kelce in studio here with us, obviously, as we get ready for Super Bowl Sunday, now 10 days away. Let's get some calls in. We got a lot to get to with Jason for an hour. Seth, the media right now, is one of them. Seth, go ahead, bud.
Hey, good morning, guys. Thanks for taking my call. Jason, what's going on, homie?
What's up, Seth?
No, I'm chilling, man. Getting ready for the game.
Yeah, baby.
So, first, let me address something that Joe brought up earlier. And Seltzer's right, man. You should be taking the task today for this. I'm so sick and tired of hearing how Jalen is not up to par, or he's the weakest link in the defense. You got to be out of your
offense,
damn
and he's
mind.
not the
Or
weakest,
offense,
but I think
sorry,
he's on the
offense.
lower end of the offense. I do believe
I
that.
mean, that's just, it's so frustrating as a fan and a loyal fan for so many years to keep hearing this stuff. I mean, this guy has done nothing. And Nick was right the other day. He has done nothing but win. And you know what? For the sake of the conversation, Nick's been the same way.
Well, I'll give you, Seth, let me give you a statement I made earlier this year, and I'll stand by it today. And earlier in the year, very few agree with me, and I wonder if more agree with me now. This is my opinion. You're probably going to disagree. I think, this is me, I think Nick is better at his job than Jalen is at his. We did a poll earlier this year. My recollection, it was about 80-20, Jalen. I think Nick's better at his job than Jalen. That's my opinion. Do you disagree or agree with that, Seth?
I would. You think he's better at his job than Jalen? That's a good question, man. I missed that poll. I would have to say that I think Jalen's better at his job because he's had to deal with. And this is a question I wanted to pose to Jason. I mean, we're on the cusp of having to deal with another offensive coordinator, the third in 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, this kid's done nothing but been bounced around his whole career, and that's what's so impressive is he just keeps winning. You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to like brown nose him or anything, but like he's the truth. He is, and like what, and to keep seeing all these people make a list of quarterbacks and sometimes leaving them out of the top 10. I mean, I can't fathom what else he has to do to prove this, you know? And I wanted to know, you know, for Jason, two questions.
Sure.
How important is this going to be going forward? Is the consistency for a group of talented players? Because we have a super talented roster, right? But like, if they have to deal with another offensive coordinator, right? Like, how important is consistency for guys like that? They can make adjustments at the professional level, but I mean, this is a big deal, you know? And then the second question is how frustrating is it for you as somebody who's so recently removed from playing with some of these guys who you're still friends with, that now you hear from people who are now your coworkers, right? You gotta look at this from the other side.
Right.
Hearing people say things like, well, you know, he's not exactly the best and he's got a lot of problems, or, you know, speaking of Jalen or Nick or whatever, you know, like this guy.
All right, Seth, we got you.
Know,
great series of questions. Give me an answer for a song, then we'll get Jason's answers. Give me a great song with historical reference.
I don't know if you know this or not, but the song Money for Nothing was, most of the lyrics on that were based off of things that these guys were hearing movers say in a department store.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Okay, good call, Seth. Very
Love that
thought-provoking.
song.
Jason, totally different questions there. Your thoughts on those questions?
Okay. I'm trying to think of where to begin. I guess I'll start with, am I answering your question of who's better at their job?
No, you don't have to answer that. But
Sure.
his two questions were, what's it like to be friends with these guys that get often criticized?
Yep.
Especially when you're currently working with people that are the people criticizing them at times.
Yeah.
And then what was the first question? Someone
About the different coordinators, wasn't it?
Yeah, I
the
think
first
so.
question. Yeah. So I guess, okay, long-winded way. First of all, I think there's going to be some continuity because they're retaining Nick Sirianni, right? So whoever that coordinator is brought in, if that happens, it's not going to be a full-fledged shift. And even this year with Kellen, you know, there'll be new terminology. There'll also be a lot of terminology that remains the same. There is a feeling out period, and I think we saw that this season whenever there's a shift. So obviously continuity plays a big factor in that. But I think that, you know, a lot of it just depends on who they end up hiring and how good they end up being in meshing into everything. And I think, you know, Nick now has been doing this job as a head coach for a number of times. He's replaced, this will be his fourth different offensive coordinator as the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles if Kellen Moore is hired someplace else. So I think he's got a familiarity with, you know, what he's looking for and trying to ideate on what guys he thinks will do a good job. In a perfect world, you develop this into a situation where you're always promoting from within. That's hard to do. And it's hard to know sometimes when you're promoting from within, which guys are going to really take that next step and be able to assert themselves. And this is what I always felt as a player. Whenever there was somebody promoted, you need to see them in a different light. And a lot of that is on that person to assert themselves that way. And it's hard to do from a player standpoint. It's hard to do from other coaches' standpoint. And I think sometimes doing it from the outside, you avoid that, but then you get the negative of, hey, we're now shifting and losing a little bit of what we were. So it'll be interesting to see if they have to make that decision, which of those routes they go. I happen to think Jalen Hurts is an immensely talented quarterback who has unfortunately dealt with this a lot, which in some ways is a strength to have to deal with it again if he has to.
What about working with knuckleheads like me? No, I'm serious, because it is an interesting dynamic. I mean,
Yeah.
we see all sorts of stuff. I've been very critical of Jalen. John had many times has been very, very critical of Nick. You obviously have a good relationship with both. I mean, it's a fascinating dynamic.
Yeah, but I think you deal with it as players, right? And you see the criticism when you're actually teammates. And I just think that at the end of the day, I think critics usually bring up good points, right? They're usually saying things that are grounded in some level of reality, and there might be a degree at which you disagree with them. And that certainly happens a lot with Jalen and Nick Sirianni, because I happen to know them individually, and I think higher of them just on a baseline principle. And I think because I'm more connected to them, I tend to magnify their strengths and the things that I know that they do really well. And I'm privy to those experiences that critics aren't. So I don't really fault people for thinking certain ways. I think it's just, they're going with the information they have and what they think to be true. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I just happen to disagree with it in a lot of situations.
Yeah,
and
makes sense.
For me, like Jalen, I think Jalen never gets enough credit for a lot of the things he does for this offense. And I don't, Saquon Barkley would not have the season he had without having Jalen Hurts as a quarterback. And that's a reality of it. And he never gets credit for that. And a little bit, but all of that goes to the offensive line and Saquon. The reality is his threat as a runner, his threat as an RPO person, all of that stuff opens up so many other things. And then, he throws to talented receivers. I mean, most quarterbacks are good when they throw, are only good if they have talented receivers to throw to. It's very rare that a quarterback is good throwing to bad players. I mean, what Josh Allen has done this year was truly remarkable, to be honest with you. But I think to me, he has cemented himself as a competitor and as a leader. He's just done so well this postseason. So I'm really happy for Jalen, and I'm obviously happy for Nick.
Yeah. What about the pass protection issues we had at your position? Yeah, at your position, we had Landon start the game, and Landon was very limited in just what he could do.
We want to talk about Jalen Hurts. They're 4th and 5. He throws a great ball to A.J. Brown down the left sideline. And now they get themselves into a 3rd down situation after that. Blown protection through the middle. He scrambles
by
out.
Landon.
Well, yeah, but I think he was I want to give Landon credit. I think his knee was bothering him at that point. But yes, it was not good.
Yeah.
That guy should not be running through the gap unblocked. And it was a 0 blitz. And somehow, thankfully, the right defensive end lost contain for a second, and he was able to sneak out there, and they force the pass interference to get it down to the 1. And I think it's, there was a number of plays that Jalen made throughout that game. And the protection issues were not great, especially when it's not really guys getting beat, which is, if guys are getting beat, that's something like, oh man, we can't really fix that. But when it's stuff where it's, protection issues, where it's like assignments, and a lot of it's hard to really know because, both of those guys were so banged up. And I don't know if that was affecting things,
right,
or what the communication issues were at
times.
It
had to be. You got a new center. It's got to affect, things.
It's not even just the new
And by the way, 4 of the players on the line were playing next to someone they hadn't played with
the
whole season. 4 of the 5.
There were some communication things that looked like, but there was also just Landon's limping around in the middle of the field.
Totally.
And it's I don't even know if he can set over there.
Yeah.
And maybe that was affecting it. And maybe he just couldn't get there. So he was hoping that the running back would adjust and take that guy. So, I try not to put too much credence into that, because I think when these guys are healthy in a couple weeks, that issue will be corrected. But they're going to be tested. Listen, Spagnuolo, he will dial up blitzes from all over the place. We saw it the last Super Bowl. Every time I've played him, it's always been a fun cat and mouse. Which way is he bringing it? He's going to put the free safety down, then bring it to the field. He's going to bring it to the field, and then all of a sudden the corner is going to come. He mixes it up as well as anybody, and it mixes it up from a man pressure to a zone pressure. He'll give you everything and then some. Yeah.
Do the players talk about that? Do the players feel the Spags pressure? He's got this reputation.
Yeah.
So what about the reputation of Kellen Moore? How does that sort of counterbalance the Spags reputation for the players?
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know. I don't really necessarily think about it from a Kellen Moore versus Spags. I always thought about it more as players. I mean, it is offensive coordinator versus them. But at the end of the day, when the blitz happens, most of the time it's on the players to adjust. And Kellen will have a plan going into it. Obviously, like every offense goes into a game like, hey, if we're getting this, this, and this, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to this. We're going to throw here. And I think that plan has been better this year than it was last year. But I always felt like going up against Spags for the most part, you try and make sure you're accounting for all of these different pressures he can give you. And then you try and understand the situations in which they're going to occur. And, hopefully, you have answers built in to all the plays that need them. And then if you see it coming, which we've done before, you can gash them. Like, I think, the way in which it comes, and the reason why Spags is so good is because he's great at disguising it. When that disguise can be met with, anticipation,
decoding it,
it can be a devastating thing.
You got a play that beats the blitz, and it
can work really well. But that's the cat and mouse game that I always loved, and that's why I liked playing against guys like Spags and Wink Martindale. And it's like, hey, I'm gonna throw everything out on the line here in anticipation this is right. And when it's right, it's like, hey, we just scored a touchdown. It's awesome.
Yeah.
When it's wrong, it's like, all right, we got a punt now. That sucks. But,
Jason in studio, the game coming up in 10 days. We got so much about the game to get to with Jason. Let's do more on the calls here with Paul in Downingtown. What's going on, Paul?
Hey, good morning, everybody. Good morning, Jason.
Morning.
So I really love this conversation about Hurts because to me, Jalen Hurts is kind of an enigma wrapped in a riddle because everything I hear people say, I tend to agree with, and I could actually give you like all 22 video evidence for. So the people that want to say he's borderline like top 3, I'll put together a video of all 22 tapes that will demonstrate that. And so people that are more towards the concerns in the passing game, not throwing people open, seems unwilling to get rid of the ball at times, holds it too long. I'll put together an all 22 tape that demonstrates that perfectly. And I also don't kind of buy into this one game proves everything. Last week was fantastic, but we also know that Nick Foles outplayed one of the greatest quarterbacks ever to play the game. And Nick Foles also lost every starting job he ever earned because of the way he played football.
That's true.
So it's really an interesting thing because, it's almost like everybody's right. There's only just like degrees of rightness.
I'll say, Paul, I've seen a lot of Philadelphia sports, obviously, and national, but Philly is, what I know the most. He's been one of the more confounding athletes ever, if not the most in my lifetime, to try to assess how good truly is he. And I think there is just an immense amount of disagreement amongst the fan base, more than perhaps any athlete I've ever seen.
Yeah, it really is, and it in a little bit it kind of reminds me of Schmitty, although I don't think anyone's saying Jalen's the greatest quarterback ever to play. When Schmitty played, I'm old enough to remember this. People were hypercritical of him. They called him a choke artist. They said that he never came.
Yeah, that was immense. That was immense underappreciation, to say the least.
It was.
But there have been Joel's a player that Rhea. You've been as critical as just about anybody, and you're looking pretty good right now. I mean, you're looking good on your Joel opinions.
Rhea's always looking good.
Like, as it relates to trying to figure out the Jalen thing, the bottom line is that some athletes are hard to assess.
Joel's now, I told you before, Larry Brown summed it up for me really easy. When you teach players at a young age, when they're first coming in, that losing is okay.
Yeah.
It's always okay. And it doesn't hurt you as much.
Yeah, no, it's a thing.
I agree.
Hey, Paul, give me an answer, my man. A song that's got historical references in it and is a great song.
Sure. And real quickly on Jalen, just concretely, the one thing I would like to say concretely is my list of quarterbacks I would rather have other than Jalen Hurts has been cut in half this season.
Well, you know what? And Paul, I'll tell you part of what makes that statement, I think, factually true for most, and I'm going to have to figure it out, maybe more in the offseason. A lot of the quarterbacks, and I mean a lot of them, in the 5 to 12 range went backwards this year. Herbert, Dak Prescott, Brock Purdy, maybe Jordan Love. CJ Stroud. Like that whole zone that he was generally, compared to. almost all of them took a step back, and that's going to
hard to play quarterback.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Paul, a song, give it to me.
Oh, it's Red Sector A. It was inspired by a bandmate's mother's times in the Holocaust. It's a very interesting song by Rush.
All right, Paul, appreciate that. Let's get to something Seth Joyner said. Go ahead.
I also your quarterback is an incredibly tough position to evaluate because there's so many confounding factors between the play that's called, what the defense play call is. They're in charge of so much that it's really impossible to truly grasp everything behind it. Now, it's very easy to see like the top performers are like, okay, this guy's like doing it better than everybody else. That's very apparent. But I think when you see a guy I just don't, it's not as easy to see. That's why it's so hard to draft that position every single season. You never know which guys are going to pan out. That's why you have Baker Mayfield, have a falling out in Cleveland. And all of a sudden he has a resurgence in Tampa Bay. Yeah. There's so many things between the offensive line, receiving options, coach, play being called, how good the defense is and how many opportunities you get as an offense. All of these things, compound into the level of play of the quarterback. And I just, I don't think it's necessarily fair to fault Jalen Hurts because he's playing with a great team. Like the reality is they're one of the best offenses in the NFL. He's a big reason that they're there. Is he as good without better players around him? Of course not. Nobody's as good without better players around you. I think the question is what degree of that is there that is causing the success. And I think that that's a fair question, but I think that at the same time, he's proven that he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league year in, year out. He continually he's making some of the best decisions he's ever made in his career this year. And I think that it's resulted in them having one of the best seasons of date. Like, outside of 2017, I don't know if there's a better regular season Philadelphia Eagles team.
Well, this is getting, they're in the upper echelon. There's some people that think it's the best Eagles team ever. It might be. There's really, to me, only 3 or 4 you can choose from. 04, 17, 22, this one, 80, in the Super Bowl era. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
And I liked 02, but 02 lost to Tampa and
Yeah.
It is what it is. They lost.
Yeah. I think 2017 we were really good in certain facets. We also had weaknesses. And we got hot at the complete right moment. And that was a big reason why we won it.
For sure.
I think from a talent perspective, there's some teams there in the early 2000s that, I remember watching where it's like, dude, these guys were stacked.
I know.
Especially on the defensive side of the ball.
I think 04, I'm just telling you.
It's so crazy looking back at those guys.
I know.
And that they didn't end up getting a Super Bowl.
Yeah. I also think the 04 Eagles faced the hardest competition in a Super Bowl. Yeah. Brady had developed into greatness, and they still had the defense. I thought 04 New England was a beast. No shame losing to them by 3 points.
They were really good.
Yeah.
Could you talk about how critical it is to have a nickel like Cooper DeJean?
Yeah.
Like Cooper DeJean, he's so far ahead of schedule. It's crazy.
There's no question.
A rookie going out there and playing like he does. Just talk about the versatility that he brings.
Well, I think you see it when he went in, and that was kind of the one thing that happened where the defense kind of turned it around. And I think the world of Avonte Maddox. I think he's a great player, and I've always loved being his teammate. But I think Cooper he has some size to him, and when you're playing these nickel packages, that nickel is a backer.
Yep,
structurally.
I think that's
and there's gonna be situations where they're gonna be responsible for setting an edge or filling a run fit, and that is hard to find a guy that can match up with the slot receivers in this league and be able to do that. Okay, and he is doing both of those phenomenally. He plays well in the run. He's very sticky in coverage, and then on top of that, he's just very instinctual. You watch some of the plays he makes and some of the anticipation that happens. And I just think that he has all of those traits wound into one player, and he's playing phenomenally. So it's made a huge difference to the defense. Linebacker in general, when I think of this defense, everybody, the defensive line in the back end is playing pretty well, especially at corner. But between Cooper DeJean and Zach Bond and controlling the middle of the field and what they've done, it makes such a huge difference for the entirety of the defense. That's funny because that's always been the area that we've never really invested in and never really, we've always viewed as the weakest part of or not the weakest, but it's always been viewed as the least important to solidify. But I think when you have that solidified, you see how much of a difference it makes. So, I think hopefully we can hold on to that for a while.
No, well, he's going to be on a contract for a while, pretty cheap. It's 94 WIP HD1 Philadelphia as we broadcast today from the Tasty Cake Studio. Jason with us, obviously, here for about another half hour. Jason, one of the things, there's a million reasons we love having you in here, but on a day like this, as the Eagles get ready for the bowl, your insight into the experience of winning a Super Bowl and losing a Super Bowl is fascinating. So let me just start with this statement. My sense from afar is that oftentimes the difference between winning and losing is so narrow that there's nothing that really can be criticized from a preparation standpoint. They weren't focused enough. Like, I don't think it worked. Like, I saw John Starks take a shot one time that if the ball goes in, Patrick Ewing's a champion. Hakeem just happened to block that shot, and the Knicks lost game 6 and 7. So Hakeem's the champ and Ewing's not. Like, he could have made the shot. I don't think Pat Riley didn't do something right in training camp to prepare them as a team. Here's my question for you. You've won one, you've lost one. Did you notice anything discernible in the difference in the preparation for the game or the mentality during the game? Both teams held a 10-point lead at halftime. Both teams gave up a touchdown within like 3 minutes of the second half. It was a 3-point game in both games. One game, it spiraled out of control. The other one, you guys maintained it enough. Any discernible difference if you were giving the Eagles advice on how to do one better than the other?
I don't think so. I don't really have anything that stands out. The biggest difference I would say is we should have switched cleats at halftime. I mean, that's the thing that I think, looking back, it's like, man, I think that field was such a, factor for the defensive line play. And that was such a strength of our defense that year. And I don't know that switching cleats would have made a difference or not, but, I think from a preparation standpoint, I don't think there was that much there. Obviously, we would have liked to have a defensive game plan that would have stopped them more than maybe 2 or 3 times. I know that Jonathan Gann has been criticized for taking interviews and all that stuff. I don't think that factored into it. I just think that, he played one of the best quarterbacks and Andy Reid, and they had a good game plan, and that's kind of how it went. And then the field, I think, assisted some of their ease at operating because of the defensive line's limitations.
Yeah.
As it did ours. Chris Jones was also not a factor, which, believe me, I appreciated the field being a little rough when I had to block him. So I think that, when you're preparing, I think you really should focus on the things that maximize the outcome and the difference of those. And I think oftentimes football teams, to be honest, I hate the expression everything matters. And it's like, obviously everything matters, butterfly effect, all this nonsense. There are things that matter a lot more, and we should focus on those. And I think that most coaches realize that. And I think oftentimes, players sometimes worry about things that, quite frankly, make minimal difference in the outcome of the game. And sometimes they're directing that attention in a way that is not going to necessarily improve that. But drawing on what we're saying just in terms of the last Super Bowl, I don't really think so. I thought the offense functioned really well. I thought that, wish we would have handled the dynamics of the field better. Wish we would have, done some things better. But
I wish Nick had gone for that 4th down.
I think he does too. And I wish I would have called a different call on a blitz. I feel like over my career, I've been very good against Spags with blitz pickups. And there's one blitz pickup that still haunts me from that game where I way overthought it and made a bad call, and it hurt us on the 3rd down right before that 4th down.
Mm-hmm.
And Nick knew, and I've said that to Nick, and Nick has said, I think, he thinks about that all the time too. And I'm sure even this past week, this is the way it goes. I'm sure Dan Quinn thinks about that 4th and 3 he had early in the game. Yeah. And if he goes for that and they end up getting a touchdown there, does that change the dynamic of it? And
particularly because to the Nick thing, because Doug went for the 4th down from the 50-yard line or 45.
No, it was Eagles territory.
Yeah, so, and look, you guys were buried further. You were around the 20 or 25.
We were way in our zone, but we knew that we weren't stopping them at that point.
Correct.
Which is, I think, the criticism, whatever.
Yeah.
I think that the reality is maybe that's something that he thinks about this time around.
Could
right?
be. Yeah.
But I think that for the most part, I also try not to overthink these minuscule situations that, there's always going to be one of those a game that you'd overdo. I just think, you try and maximize the things that you think are going to allow you to perform better this time around against this team and against this coordinator, and whatever you think that is, you roll with it. And I think we were really close last time. I think, again, the Eagles have so much talent on both sides of the ball. I think Vic Fangio has been amazing this year. I'm looking forward to that matchup of Patrick Mahomes in that Kansas City offense and Andy Reid versus Vic Fangio in this defense. That is going to be fun just as a football fan to watch take place.
What's the best way to slow down your brother?
Oh man, now we're getting into the who you're rooting for.
Get him drunk on Saturday night.
I don't know. I'm not an expert in that. I mean, hopefully we'll have. I'm assuming we'll be treating him different than we treated Zach Ertz. I mean, Zach went off in the game.
11 catches for 104.
So hopefully as an Eagles fan, hopefully we have a game plan for not allowing that much room and things like that. But credit to Zach. I mean, Zach played a great game, and he really came on second half of the year with Jaden Daniels. So, yeah, I don't know. I think they're going to probably try and put somebody on him and make sure that he's not getting a lot of opportunities. They match up well from a coverage standpoint. And like, it's easy to say, hey, let's go out there and let's man guys up and let's just play ball. Andy Reid's too good to just do that on. He'll find ways to scheme things up. He'll find ways to run mesh concepts and things and throw you off. You still got to be creative. You still got to be deceptive. Pat Mahomes is too good. It doesn't matter how good you are. You still have to be really – you can't be predictable against a group like this. So I think that they'll try a number of things to slow Travis down.
Yeah. Okay. Great having Jason here. So much more up ahead. The Andy Reid thing, the whole deal. We'll get to it all with Jason. 215-592-9494. Phone calls as well with Jason here. Coming up next on 94 WIP.
The FanDuel kick of destiny is back, and this time it's every Manning for himself. This Super Bowl II legends will take the field in a sudden death field goal showdown. Peyton versus Eli, live from New Orleans. One kick to claim ultimate family bragging rights. Who will rise to the moment? Pick your winner now in the FanDuel app in partnership with Valley Forge Casino. And if you back the right brother, you'll earn a share of $10 million in bonus bets. It's the FanDuel Kick of Destiny 3. Make your free pick, and don't forget to tune in to watch the showdown live during the Super Bowl 59 pregame show on Fox at 3 p.m. Eastern. May the best Manning win. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com/JohnR, JONR, and bet with FanDuel, official partner of Super Bowl 59. FanDuel Sportsbook is the official partner of 94 WIP. That's FanDuel.com/JohnR, JONR to win today.
21 plus in President, Pennsylvania. No purchase necessary. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. Void where prohibited. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Sports Radio 94 WIP has your all-access pass to the brightest spotlight in sports. WIP goes to the Big Easy. Listen as the WIP midday and afternoon shows broadcast live from New Orleans with exclusive championship coverage, access to players and coaches, and check-ins with insiders the week of the big game. Let's go! The road to the championship started in South Philly and ends in New Orleans. Go Birds! WIP goes to the Big Easy. Sports Radio 94 WIP.
Sponsored by Hatfield. Put pork on your fork.
Ike Reese here. Our birds know what championship performance looks like, and so does Elite Acura. Be among the first to test drive the all-new Acura ADX with championship caliber technology and performance. Celebrate our road to New Orleans with the 2024 Acura ZDX, leased for just $299 per month with $29.99 down. Visit Elite Acura just off Route 73 in Maple Shade or at EliteAcura.com. No one can compete with Elite.
36-month lease with approved credit plus tax and fees. See dealer for details.
My friends at Benari have the most romantic and timeless Valentine's Day gifts of all. Jewelry. You can't go wrong. How about classic diamond earrings or bracelet or pendant? Maybe a piece from their huge David Yurman collection. And if you're proposing on Valentine's, the experts at Benari will help you find the most flawless diamond ring at a value that will blow you away. Lots of choices, and the staff at Benari will make it so easy to find the perfect gift to celebrate Valentine's Day. Drop by one of their locations today in Newtown Square in Exton.
Hey, welcome to Total Wireless. How can I help you?
Oh, my phone is panicking. It thinks I'm trading it in.
No worries. At Total Wireless, you get one line for $20 per month when you bring your phone.
Really? Only $20 a month for one line? And I get to keep my phone? Wow.
Yep, that's 50% off the base 5G unlimited plan.
Visit your nearest Total Wireless store today. Restrictions apply. Compatible device required. Available exclusively online and in Total Wireless retail stores.
Dietz and Watson wants to congratulate the Eagles on making it to New Orleans. Tackle your game day menu for the big game with the official hot dog of the Philadelphia Eagles from Dietz and Watson. Fire up that grill with perfectly smoked premium franks and sausages from Dietz and Watson. Big game parties are always better with condiments, freshly sliced meats, and artisan cheeses from Dietz and Watson. Head to DietzandWatson.com to find the local retailer near you and details where you can catch the Bird Dog truck next. Go Birds!
Hosting a tailgate or football party? Check out Henry's Hots Barbecue in Folsom, New Jersey for your game day food. Ruthie and her team have served the tri-state area for more than 15 years. Henry's Hots Barbecue is the official caterer of the Eagles Radio Network. Enjoy or take out the award-winning Texas-style barbecue, smoked brisket, St. Louis-style ribs, homemade mac and cheese, and don't forget the fried chicken. For delicious home-style cooking, visit bestbbqssj.com.
A Gain Scent Bead story. Jim was at the laundromat when he heard his ear said, "Maraca, senor," but his nose said, "Hey, freshest scent ever." Following his nose, Jim found a man pouring a bottle of Gain Scent Beads into the washer. The scent, the freshness. Jim blurted, "Sir, your scent Maraca smell amazing." Actually, Jim, most noses call them Gain Scent Beads. Try Gain Scent Beads, way fresher than detergent alone.
Shopping with your parents can be embarrassing.
Why would they sell jeans with holes in them? I'm going to speak to the manager.
Mom!
That hoodie is giving. You should get it. YOLO.
Thanks to the Chase mobile app, your kid can shop independently while you keep an eye on their spending. So you can go from
"We can be twinsies"
to
"How was shopping? Saw you stayed on budget."
"Thanks, Mom." Freedom for kids, control for parents. That's family banking from Chase.
Account subject to approval. Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank N.A. member FDIC.
At Uline, they know firsthand the road to success is an uphill climb. Uline started in the family basement, and through hard work is now North America's most trusted shipping and industrial supplier. They get what it means to have the support of reliable, hardworking partners. So they keep 41,000 items ready to ship. Whether your company is still in a basement office or expanding cross-country, Uline will be there on your road to success. Visit uline.com.
When I wake up,
The best mornings
in the morning light,
start with Wrangler.
I pull on my jeans and I feel alright.
Jeans, jackets, and shirts that get your day started. Good mornings make for better days. Wrangler, for the ride of life.
What does it feel like to file with TaxSlayer and get your guaranteed maximum refund? It feels like the last level of a video game, facing off against the final boss who stands between you and your refund.
All your refund has belonged to me.
Using the power of TaxSlayer like a secret power-up he doesn't see coming.
Only the most tax confident can defeat me.
Throwing your laptop at his video game face and watching him crumble into a giant pile of shiny coin tax refunds.
Oh, not fair. You use TaxSlayer.
Start for free and get your guaranteed maximum refund. TaxSlayer. File fearlessly.
Welcome to TGL, presented by SoFi, golf's newest league, live on ESPN and ESPN Plus. It's 2 hours of hammer-dropping, overtime forcing, playoffs on the line golf, Tiger, Rory, and more of the best from the PGA Tour, split into 6 teams. Learn more at TGLGolf.com. Tune in every week for TGL matches. Keep up, it's golf.
This is Boomer Esiason with an Audacy Sports Minute, sponsored by TGL, presented by SoFi. Tune in every week for TGL matches. Bill Belichick floated a provocative suggestion to rename the Vince Lombardi Trophy after Tom Brady, reasoning that coaches don't win Super Bowls, players do. Surely the Hoodie Man knows teams win, not individuals. How about considering renaming the Pete Rozelle Super Bowl MVP award after Brady? I'm Boomer Esiason.
Hey, Joe DeCamera here. Let me tell you about PI Dental Center, how they've helped me through the years and how they can certainly help you as well. With their decades of experience in complex dental treatment, of which I've been a patient of PI Dental for 2 decades, with Dr. Glenn Wolfinger and Dr. Robert Slough, sensational with what they do. Board-certified prosthodontists, they specialize in the restoration and the replacement of teeth. Now, fortunately for me, I've never needed that type of procedure. I've always had good luck and obviously great care with PI Dental Center. So for me, it's been year-to-year maintenance. And if you're in that category, most people in society are, get to PI Dental Center for year-to-year maintenance. But if you're in the other category, and you don't want to be in the other category, but if you are, you want to get out of that category, the I got a big problem category, the I need a big solution. Well, know this, PI Dental Center, they can fix you up. They are the originators of the teeth in a day. That's a revolutionary treatment that delivers fixed teeth and implants placed for a dramatic transformation in a mere 1 day. If that fits what you're dealing with, get there. They're located in Fort Washington. Let them fix you up. Start with their website, pidentalcenter.com. Visit pidentalcenter.com to request your new patient evaluation.
94 WIP Sports Update.
Brought to you by Family and Company Jewelers, South Jersey's Diamond Destination. Eagles 10 days away from their Super Bowl matchup with the Chiefs in New Orleans. In studio with the WIP Morning Show, Jason Kelce talked about the challenges of facing a Steve Spagnuolo defense and how to beat it.
Hopefully, you have answers built in to all the plays that need them. And then if you see it coming, which we've done before, you can gash them. The way in which it comes, and the reason why Spags is so good is because he's great at disguising it. When that disguise can be met with anticipation, it can be a devastating thing. That's the cat and mouse game that I always loved, and that's why I liked playing against guys like Spags.
Eagles will practice today through Saturday here in Philadelphia before leaving for the Super Bowl Sunday. Mostly sunny today, high 44. It's currently 31. Listen to the Eagles in the Super Bowl on your streaming device. Just download the free Audacy app or tell your smart speaker to play 94 WIP.
Sports Update on 94 WIP. Back to the WIP Morning Show with Joe DeCamera and John Ritchie on Sports Radio 94 WIP.
Jason, it's your song. This is your song. Feel something inside me then. I really don't think you're strong enough now.
Bring it, Jason.
How can you not love this song?
It's a banger.
I don't care. If you don't love this song, you're wrong.
You can nail it. Was that you're a good singer? I got a falsetto singing going on.
I mean, it's a famous Christmas album. No big deal,
I think we would all rather Jordan Malata sing this song. He would nail it a lot more.
Only one of us in this room has done a duet with Stevie Nicks. I'll just say that.
True.
Okay.
It's so good, man.
So sad.
Have you met Cher before?
What's up?
Have you ever met Cher?
I have not. No.
Classic.
Have you met Cher?
No, I have not.
You're
I yearn.
I was waiting for a Cher story there.
I get it. Yeah, I get the.
They met Ralph Macchio. That's pretty cool.
I have met Ralph.
Cher and Macchio.
Hung out with Ralph.
Also motivational right there. This song gets you going. Ralph Macchio would get me going.
I think so.
Yeah.
Ralph Macchio sort of defeated the odds. You look at the guy, he somehow did that crane kick to win the tournament.
Even though he was the best around and no one's going to get him down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, exactly. So, Jason, here's something about John. Jason, you've gotten to know a million people, all these famous people, right? John had a unique. We haven't rolled this out in months. So, for those that have never heard, this is pretty cool. John had a unique situation in college. John went to college with about 7 or 8 incredibly famous people.
Oh, wow. Okay.
All right, John, let's.
I can never remember.
All right, here we go.
Always help
here
him,
we go. All right, here we go. Chelsea Clinton,
Tiger Woods.
The Chelsea Clinton thing.
Walt Clinton was president.
Yeah, that's a big one.
But
How do you not remember
during
that? There had to be
the
security detail all the
Lewinsky
time.
scandal. It was during Monica Lewinsky. So she was walking around campus with a group of people that were supposedly student aged, but you could tell that they were Secret Service with the thing in their ear and that backpack and stuff.
Your posture is way too good to be a student.
Right, but they were living in the dorms with her and stuff.
All right,
so the scandal was I felt so bad for her because that's all it was. It was cameras following her around campus, asking her about Monica Lewinsky.
Yeah, that's a tough position.
All right, Tiger Woods, when he was the best amateur in the world, right before he turns pro. So you got Tiger.
Yes, as a freshman, before he got any of the Nike stuff, the Nike endorsements.
Did you meet him before all that?
Yeah, and I was a total jerk. I was the guy in the training room like, wait a second, what sport do you play? You're a golfer? We need to get our ankles taped for practice, man. What are you doing taking up a table?
How dare you?
How dare you? On his way to $1 billion.
And then he went off and signed for $90 million with Nike like 3 weeks later.
That's
great. Have you ever brought it up to him? Been like, dude, I know you just signed.
I don't think he wants to interact.
Stay the crap off of my ankle taping table. Otherwise, I'm still going to be pissed off.
Yeah, he's not welcoming.
You had Reese Witherspoon.
Reese Witherspoon.
Yes, nice. Reese Witherspoon. She left. She was a year behind me. She left school. I saw her. I met her at a party. I thought she was the most beautiful creature I had ever witnessed.
Nice.
And then as I walked closer, I realized that she was standing on a hay bale. So she was actually like half the size that I thought she was from across the room.
So what did
she was like a human being.
You thought
that
she was
completely
like 8 feet?
I thought she was like I don't know, like 5'10", and she was really
How big
shrunk
was this
down.
The hay bale is like what, like a foot? She's like under 5
It was a
feet.
big hay bale. She was so little. She was like a human being, shrunk down, completely shrunk down, almost like 4 feet tall. Just the most petite.
Yeah.
How did that affect your
woman.
perception of her?
Well,
John doesn't like the shorties.
No.
She ended up dating my buddy.
Oh wow.
Yeah, Tony Vella.
Was he short or tall?
He was taller than I was.
That's always a fun dynamic.
Very much so. For more
disparity.
Must have been more fun for him than for me.
All right, one more, because we could go on and on, but one more that has to be said. The richest person in the world, Elon Musk.
Yeah,
he was in grad
school. He was in grad school.
So Elon Musk went
Fred Savage.
Elon Musk went
Fred
to school with
Savage
John
from
Ritchie.
the Wonder
That's the way to
Years
put it.
was a huge fan of the football team. Like he was the only guy on the whole campus that liked the football team. So I felt good about Fred Savage.
Fred Savage, okay.
Fred Savage, Kevin Arnold from the Wonder Years.
Yeah, of course.
I thought that was really cool that he liked me, and he was the only person who thought that football was cool.
So
at
of all
Stanford.
the celebrities, that's the only one you had like a meaningful interaction.
Everyone
with.
thought water polo was cool.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then Fred Savage was a
What
football
school did you go to
supporter.
again?
Stanford.
I was about to say Stanford. I was like, that's the only school that would think water polo school, probably.
Stanford got a lot better at football since.
Yeah.
Got rid of Richie. All right, great having Jason here in studio. That's an unbelievable list. All right, so the game coming up in 10 days. Now, Life Advice with the Hammer coming up in about an hour. Get those questions you need to know, scenarios you need help with. Facebook, Twitter, and the text line, 3 ways you can interact with the show. What do you need help with? I'll give you some advice in an hour. Let me give anyone who's a future interviewer advice. If you want to know what it's like to win the Super Bowl, ask Jason Kelce.
Oh, wow.
But prior to that, play some audio of Jason Kelce so we can hear what it was like 7 years ago. Jason, I thought there were 3 things you said after the game that moved mountains in this town. The biggest, of course, was the speech 4 days later. Okay.
Yeah.
Rocky Steps, the whole deal. I think the second most notable was what you said right after the game to John Clark when he's interviewing you and the mascot's in the background and you're quoting Rocky. Right.
Yeah,
that made
was
the
a fun
rounds.
one. Yeah.
The one that I will tell you struck me the most, and I've said this many times over the last 7 years, was what you said in your locker, crying when you conveyed.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to play this audio. I thought it was
I know which one you're talking about. Yeah.
just an incredible example of an athlete just letting it out because he had just accomplished the goal. Let's listen to what happened 7 years ago.
It's hard to put into words. I've been last 2 weeks after we beat Atlanta and after we beat I couldn't remember his minutes after we struggle into my head. Last 2 weeks after we won, I found myself in the shower crying, dreaming of this moment. You worked so hard your whole life to get here. Everything culminates. And I can't help but think back to a quote my grandfather gave me from Calvin Coolidge about persistence. I'm not going to say it because it's a little long and it'll drag home, but he gave me that quote when I was 18 years old, when I was not given a scholarship to play at any Division I university. My father and mother told me to stay after my dream. And I've officially accomplished the best thing in this sport with a group of guys who mean the world to me. Because really, persistence is summed up my whole career, summed up my whole life. Just keep going. Just keep going, moving forward. No matter what obstacle comes in your way, just keep moving forward.
Jason, I thought it was one of the most inspirational things I've ever encountered in my life. I really mean that. I was blown away by that.
I appreciate it. I mean, there's a lot of emotions going. And, as I said there was a lot of emotions going up to the game itself. I mean, that was my first one you're playing in. And it's so surreal realizing you're about to play that game. I mean, I know there's only 32 teams in the NFL, but getting there is so hard. And all week you're thinking about, and for me, I had a very, up and down just way that I got there, all the way from like high school to college to even the year before it in 2016, where I just didn't have a great season. So there was just constantly you're always questioning, am I good enough? Are we good enough? And like you think you're good enough, but I don't know. It just happens continually. And then you're reminded, you just keep working, man. That's the only thing that matters. Keep working, keep trying to get better, keep trying to improve. And it just felt like the whole season kind of was that way for the Philadelphia Eagles and a lot of the guys on that team, which ultimately correlated with the speech at the Rocky Steps later. But yeah, it was a highly emotional time. It's still emotional for me. I'm almost crying right now thinking about it. But it's everything flashes before a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You can't help but think back and you think about how am I here? How am I fortunate enough and lucky enough to be here?
Yeah.
And then you think about your teammates and everybody else, and it's a very overwhelming experience, being on the biggest stage of your profession. And I imagine anybody feels that way, right? Like no matter what you do, if you get to that point where you have the opportunity to be known as like the best in the entire world of whatever you do, it's a feeling that is I don't know. I mean, if you've put a lot into it, it's going to mean a lot to you. We've dedicated a lot of hours and time and commitment and travel, and you've foregone a lot of other things in your life.
We hear you, man. Take a moment, Jason. John, you've been through this. I mean, you know what it's like.
And it was, for me, that game, the Super Bowl, was the one game I actually got nervous. I had never experienced the nerves, the not the fear, but I don't even know, the butterflies and then some, where I was not terrified, but it was so intense. It was so intense. I had heard it was almost like fear. It was almost like I was freezing up. I was thinking about on the sideline, man, it takes forever. It takes forever to take the field before the Super Bowl. And I just kept thinking about the numbers that they talked about on the news the night before, the number of people who were watching this. I kept thinking about the number of people that I knew, that I, grew up with, who would be watching this. How many people?
Well, John, you had a billion people, but then the ones that specifically knew you.
I know
all those people that knew you.
That's what mattered to me. I'm thinking back, like everyone I ever knew is seeing this and valuing in this, and it was such a huge experience for me. And then as soon as that first hit happened, it all went away, and it was just football
for sure.
But man, it was heavy there before that first hit.
And you try and say it all week, and I think that you have to. We talk about like preparation for this game, everything that the coach should be doing, and everything guys that have been there should be doing. But should be trying to like, bring those emotions down, because they are so magnified. It's too magnified to operate in a functional way. And most of the guys, as John said, in game time, you get to that spot. You just have to. And, you still want to play the game with emotion, but that emotion is naturally going to be there. I look forward to all these guys. For me, I was in my second one the last time when I played the Chiefs.
Sure.
And the emotions are definitely different your second time around. You're just more of like, okay, I've been here. You're still really excited, but it's not the same as the first time you go.
Yeah.
And, I'm really excited for a lot of these guys for now being their second time. A lot of these guys, have, especially not far removed, and they still have that hunger and desire to get their first one. There's just, it's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be fun to see, those guys' emotions. And I think, I'm looking forward.
Love it. All right, let's get one more call in here with Jason. Patrick in Tabernacle. Patrick, good morning, pal.
Hey, good morning, guys. Morning, everybody. Jason, good to hear you, buddy. And listen, man, I got to tell you, Jason, I talked to you before on the air.
Yeah.
Your podcast with your brother really resonates with me. I have 5 brothers, and no sisters, and like the importance of my brothers in my life is so incredible. And like I don't know where I'd be without them. And when I listen to you guys, that really comes through, man. I appreciate that.
No, I appreciate it, Patrick. Let me ask you a question. If one of your brothers was playing for the Chiefs, who would you root for?
Oh, hell no. Listen. I would never root for my brother.
You're full of it. You're full of it, brother.
Great answer.
Jason, that felt good for you to ask somebody else.
Absolutely.
Yep, all 5 of them would be in the bottom of the list, brother. Last week was probably the most nerves I've felt in any sporting event coming up to this NFC Championship game. And I don't know where it came from, man, but I was like all week fit to be tied. And listen, you talking about the continuity and the in and outs of the coordinators we're seeing here. And that was a big, I had the Eagles at 10 wins this year. I didn't think we'd, with everything happened, but like the lack of continuity and consistency and everything with the OCs, it's really incredible. I think about it, for Jalen Hurts, like every year this guy's getting somebody new, and I don't know how he deals with that. I really don't, because it's for me, I'm all about comfort. I like the same thing. You know what I mean? I don't like change. I don't like, that's just how I roll. But
sure.
I'm just super impressed with, how Sirianni and Hurts kind of and everybody else, like where we ended up last year to where we were this year.
And Patrick, it's an incredible rebound. Patrick, give me a song with historical references.
Listen, how about Dear Prudence Farrow, Mia Farrow's sister? They hang out with the Beatles in India and an ashram. She wouldn't leave her hut. So they wrote Dear Prudence.
You got it, man. Patrick, appreciate that call. Good stuff right there. All right, Jason, let me throw some quick hitters at you.
Come on.
Just gonna, we'll just move fast on a number of topics we want to get through before you're out of here. There is a possibility the Eagles could play against Carson Wentz in this game.
How about that?
I mean, that could happen.
I didn't think about that. That very well could happen.
Like how, and the irony, look, he could then win or he could lose. The irony, if he were to win, he's like Foles to them. And here's the other thing I'll say. It would kind of rewrite his legacy here, because we could never quite go with like Carson stinks. It would never be.
Well, I don't think that's his legacy here.
But my
his legacy was he helped us win a Super Bowl.
No, but the way like we've dogged him in the aftermath, and if he were to beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl, it'd be outrageous.
It would be complete bedlam for sure. I mean,
I think that breaks everyone's brain forever.
It would.
I
break
can't.
the brain. Break the brain.
Seriously, can I get out of bed from that point forward if Carson Wentz leads them to beating us?
Then I know we're actually living in a simulation.
Right.
Guaranteed
This is the
evidence.
Matrix.
Yeah.
And I just saw that black cat go right across the screen again. Glitch.
Wild.
That would be wild. That would be, I mean, you thought you saw me excited and talking about everything I've been through post game.
Yeah.
Carson would be on one for sure. I mean, he'd be awesome for him. He would definitely be very excited about it. But yeah, I don't know.
All right, here's the next one, Jason. So, greatest quarterback ever. I would say, generally speaking, as I grew up, the baton went from Unitas to Montana to Brady, and it's
straight to Brady.
Yeah, from Montana for sure. I believe. But now Mahomes has entered the conversation. He doesn't have the time in the game to have the accomplishments of Brady having won 7.
Right.
It's not, it's not possible to get to 10 in this number of years. But there are many that believe Patrick Mahomes, is playing at a level that is a greater level than any quarterback's ever played at. Of those you've seen, which would obviously be Manning and Brady and that, and back to being a kid.
Sure.
Do you think Mahomes is playing at a level that is the greatest level a quarterback's ever played?
I don't know. I mean, the problem is like there's a lot of quarterbacks I think have stacked seasons that have been just as remarkable. The thing that's crazy about Brady and what Mahomes is doing is the consistency and the ability to do it year in, year out. I think back to like Aaron Rodgers. Like when Aaron was on in his prime, I don't know that. I mean, he was so impressive. And there's been quarterback. I mean,
came up small in some big games though.
He did.
Brady whooped his ass in the COVID playoff game.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing with like, Peyton was the same way. And then all of a sudden in some playoff games, I think that's where you kind of give the nod. But yeah, I think that all these guys are so good. And they've all had seasons where maybe one season stacks up better than some of these other quarterbacks. But, I think.
You think Brady's good
the level of consistency at which Tom and Pat have done it in the year in, year out winning. I mean, the Chiefs were just in their 7th AFC championship in a row. Yeah. They're going to their 4th Super Bowl in 5 years.
That's right.
Yep.
I mean, what in the hell? That is outrageous. That is an outrageous level of success at the highest level where you're competing against the best in the world every single year. And I think, now it's not all Pat, of course. Like there's Andy Reid over there. There's a great team that they've been able to keep together. And then Spagnuolo coming at the downside of like the offense that was the start, like ridiculous numbers, has really picked up a lot of slack. But, as far as a guy who finds a way to win, as far as a guy who is continually getting it done, I think those are the only two that I've ever witnessed do it at this consistency, which I think you have to say those are the best two.
John, do you think Mahomes is better than Brady?
Yes. There's no question physically he's more gifted, and it's just a matter of time until if he is allowed, if his body permits him to play as long as Tom Brady does. Now with Andy there also, like he will eventually log enough championships.
Yeah, if he doesn't get hurt and if Andy stays, then that helps him a tremendous amount.
He is a better football player than Tom Brady was.
I really don't think Andy's going anywhere. Like there was like rumors a couple years ago that he's like thinking about retirement. I think Andy's in this until Pat's out pretty much. Like I would be. Like, why would you stop? You have the chance to do something remarkable. You've been doing your whole career and you finally got this guy that's like this, like just
Can we do that? Can we bring this up to where it's comparable to what the Chiefs are doing? The Eagles organization, Howie Roseman is masterful. The Chiefs, we know how great they are. Is it real? Does it feel? We're now 2 out of the last 3.
Yeah.
We got the first time a quarterback is starting 2 Super Bowls in Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia Eagles history. Is this going to be 3 Super Bowls for Jalen? Is this going to be 4 Super Bowls for Jalen? Can this be a dynasty?
Well, it can be. I mean, of course it can be.
What's the likelihood that it's a dynasty?
What's the likelihood? I don't know that we want to put that percentage out in the universe, but I think, listen, the reason why Kansas City continues to get it done is they've fallen into this formula where, and this is really what Tom did for the most of his career of success, which is having great defenses, then a quarterback that if he has the ball last, he's going to win the game, and a head coach that will manage it in a way that they try to get they can get that ball with the last opportunity. And I think Pat Mahomes has proven that, and he's proven that year in, year out. And now that Spags has that defense rolling, that's the model that they continue to win games with, and they continue to win playoff games with. If it's going to be a 1-score game, this quarterback's going to beat yours. And I think that,
17 times in a row.
Jalen, listen, I know Jalen faces a lot of criticism. Jalen actually, in my opinion, handles end of game situations really well. 2-minute situations. I think he's done a phenomenal job with that. And now with Vic there on the defense, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how this transpires year in, year out from here. And it seems like Vic isn't going anywhere. I mean, I don't know that that's true. I don't want to speak for him, but it sounds like he wants to stay here.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, for Nick Sirianni, Vic, to stay and have that kind of continuity. I know we're talking about the offensive coordinator, but look what just happened to Detroit. This when you win games, you lose people.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the reasons Andy's tenure ended here. And now Detroit's going to have to find a way to win games. Their offensive coordinator leaving, their defensive coordinator leaving, multiple position coaches leaving. That's going to be really hard. It's going to be a testament to Dan Campbell to see how he rebounds from that. For Nick to be able to know that, like, hey, we might lose an offensive coordinator here in every so years, but we're going to retain one of the best defensive coordinators in the league. And, we have one of the best GMs in the league building a roster. That's a good formula for success if we're talking about year in, year out.
All right, Jason.
And one of the best owners spending money.
Sorry,
as well.
yes.
No question.
Definitely. Thank you.
No
Thank you
question.
very much.
It's unbelievable. All right, Jason, 2 final things. So there's the Super Bowl, but there's also Super Bowl week, which is really fun.
Yeah.
22-year-old you probably would have been denied at many doors at Super Bowl week, like Maxim Party. They'd be like, who the hell is this guy? You're a rookie.
Yeah.
Who are you? All right. I'm pretty sure you can
I
get
think I was denied at doors even when I was like 26. Yeah. No, I went to like a Super Bowl in Houston. And they denied me very quickly.
Well, I'm sorry
But
to
I'm
hear
an
that.
NFL player, I promise.
Yeah.
All right. So
They didn't care. They're like, what's your name? Yeah,
That's
you're not on the
classic.
list, bud.
It was probably the flip-flops.
No doubt. No doubt.
I'm guessing you can get into any party at this point. Yeah, just taking a stab at it. So, should be a wild week, right?
Should be. I mean, listen, I think.
And by the way, you don't have to prepare for a game now, right?
Oh, trust
You
me.
want to stay
I
up
am
to 4
fully
a.m.?
aware. I am fully aware. Listen, I think we have a New Heights party for the podcast, and that was going to be fun. I would much rather go onto Bourbon Street and hang out there than I would at any freaking Maxim party. I
The
can guarantee you
regular
that.
folk.
But it is getting increasingly harder to do that. So we'll see how it goes. I don't know. We got some ideas lined up on ways to have fun and some stuff that we can do. I mean, it's going to be a great week. The awesome part about Bourbon Street in New Orleans is that it's all right on top of each other. I mean, everybody's going to be centrally located to that area, which is going to be complete mayhem, which I kind of love. And I think it's going to be an exciting time to not have to play a football game.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard not to have fun down on Bourbon Street.
Are you a gator eater?
Am I a gator eater?
Yes.
I have eaten gator multiple times.
So you'll test things. You'll try new
I'm
foods.
I'm game for trying.
You gotta go to.
He eats 5 items and that's it.
I've eaten bull testicles.
Yeah, me too.
Oh.
Straight off the bull.
Same.
I mean, slice them off and cook them over an open fire.
I have cattle in Missouri, and I went for they call it branding, but you brand them and then you castrate them.
Yep.
And they have a fire there that you're heating the irons with that you're branding on.
Yeah.
And you throw, after you castrate,
With some
you throw
garlic
it on.
and butter.
I didn't have nothing. It was just straight on the grill, not even grill. It was just right on the fire. It was really rough.
What?
It was a rite of passage. I was told. It was a rite of passage.
People are eating breakfast,
They're
Jason.
bouncy.
They really are.
Listen, I'm not gonna lie. It's pretty similar to Scrapple. It's not that.
Yeah.
All right, Jason, last
I
thing
love
here, man.
Scrabble.
So we have seen for the last 2 years now, many times, Kansas City scores a touchdown, particularly if it's your brother.
Yeah.
Taylor Swift in the booth. She's going crazy. The hugs are going all over the place. Goes viral. $100 to you.
$100. Okay.
Saquon Barkley scores a touchdown.
Yes.
You hug Taylor Swift and say, "Go Birds!"
Yeah.
$100.
100.
I'm sure that's very
Well,
tempting.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. The Hammer says, "Go Birds." By the way, the whole city of Philadelphia says, "Go Birds," and also
sure.
says she grew up an Eagles fan. What the hell? Wait, what the hell?
Yeah, she grew up
What
in
is
the
this
area.
nonsense?
She knows what everybody's cheering for this weekend. She's obviously on the other side of it. But yeah, no, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun being down there. Yeah, it's going to be, I don't know, man. I can't wait till the game starts. Yeah, I don't know. That's all I got.
Here's the deal, man. Good luck to half the teams you're rooting for. All right, pal.
Well done. Well done.
Hey, Jason, have fun, man. Have fun.
Thanks, guys.
We'll connect next week, one way or the other.
Cool.
I'm not sure what the circumstances will be, but we'll figure it out.
Sounds good.
Jason, stay well. There he is, Jason Kelce. All right, let's get back to the phone lines. 215-592-9494. Your opportunity to weigh in all the topics we've had rolling here today. Let's get James. How much did I have to say to get to Taylor Swift hug and go Birds? I mean, I can't.
I think times 100.
I can't give
$100 times 100.
But I can't give $1 million. I can't give 100 million. I can't give $1 billion. I mean,
there might not be a number that would make it worth it for Jason to do that.
All right, let's go to the phones. Let's talk to Dan in Philadelphia. What's up, Dan?
What's up, guys? Great question for Jason about Taylor. I do know one thing. His wife is definitely going to be screaming, "Go Bird."
Yes.
That's interesting.
Oh, no. Kylie has said it, but she is an Eagles fan.
Yeah, I think she said that on the record and said
she's
even
on the
if
record.
Jason was on another team, she would root for the Eagles.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I like that. I wonder. He's out the door here now. I wonder if that's
strong.
I wonder if that's two different
her
booths.
Fandom.
Two different. Oh,
No, I'm serious.
You're right.
Because I would not watch
Taylor-
a Super Bowl
Taylor
with a
has
Chiefs
to-
fan next to me. Won't do it.
Taylor is an Eagles fan as well. So I mean,
But you
she
don't
would
have
to
much
be-
choice.
Right. You have to be rooting for the Eagles.
Well, I'm
have
saying you can get a
Jason in there.
second booth.
What? So what? You run back and forth?
Dude, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like it's a unique
Eagles
situation.
Score, you run in one booth, the Chiefs score. It's a
No,
mess
Joe,
in
I've
that
been at
booth, to be
games
quite
where
honest
there's
with you.
been other, and I've left places because
Oh,
I will not watch.
100%. You can't deal with the fan of the other team, especially in a big game. Regular season, a little something like
in your own building.
Yeah, and especially if you're losing.
That's pretty ugly.
There's that element.
I don't handle it well, and I'm petty.
Yeah, no, I get it.
To be honest.
All right, Dan, go ahead, man.
Speaking of pettiness, this is where it drives me nuts to be an Eagles fan. There's enough criticism go around for any player. Like I have criticism of Jalen holding the ball too long. I have criticism of Nick Sirianni. Some of his antics on the sideline. But the fact of the matter is that we may be the only fan base that go, well, what if Jalen Hurts played for the Giants, like you said earlier? It'd be like, what if Jalen Hurts? I want to see if Jalen Hurts can play quarterback without arms.
But it doesn't go. But Dan, it doesn't go that far.
It does go that far.
I disagree with you. I disagree with you.
Here with these players, he wins. We actually should be more thankful that he's not an egotistical maniac.
I agree with that. Yeah.
He's trying to go for stats. He's already established his contract, right?
Yeah.
What's he, the third highest paid player in the league? So he's playing to win, and that's what he does. Yes, there are things that he can get better at, like holding the ball, letting go of the ball, not taking those sacks. But to say, oh, I want to see him be good if he played for the Giants, or to say about Nick Sirianni, I want to see he would be a good coach without these players. Why would we want to see that?
Well, no, hold on, Dan. No one's saying we want to see that. What I'm saying
why even bring it up?
Well, no, I'll tell you why. Because it would be fascinating to know how good he would look under those circumstances. Dan, I'm going to give you an example. Look, you're not going to like it. I'm going to give it to you. I saw Steve Kerr, and by the way, Jalen's better than Steve Kerr, but I saw Steve Kerr play basketball for about a decade and a half. I'd say 98% of the time he took a three-pointer, it was wide open. Why? Because he played with Michael Jordan and Tim Duncan, who drew double teams. And so when the ball was passed to Steve Kerr, he was wide open like all the time. What Steph Curry does, he shoots the open threes. He shoots the contested threes. That's part of how you know Steph Curry's just a way better outside shooter than Steve Kerr, even though Steve Kerr had an incredible percentage.
The point is, you can't tell the degree of difficulty with Jalen in this offense. You don't know what he's being asked to do on any given play. It's a massive responsibility that he goes through. The checklist that he goes through, identifying the defense. And yes, he does identify the front and the coverage every single